How's it going, guys? We got a quick tech tip video for you today. We're going to take a look at an insufficient air pressure alarm that you may see in PathPilot when you're trying to do a tool change. So we're going to take a look at the air pressure sensor that you have on your ATC and tell you how to make an adjustment on it. There is a special case where you may not have a pressure sensor installed on your machine, so we'll take a look at that at the end of the video as well. So if you're seeing an insufficient air pressure alarm on your machine, the very first thing you should do is check the air pressure being delivered to the machine. That should be at least 90 psi. You want to have that between 90 and 110 psi. But assuming that is correct, then most likely the cause of the alarm is the trigger point of the air pressure sensor. So every machine except for the original PC&C ATCs has a pressure sensor installed on it. For the original PC&C ATCs, the pressure sensor was an optional addition. But if you do have a pressure sensor on it, it's going to look pretty much identical to this with a steel hexagonal body, a black rubber boot on it, and then a cord coming out the end. If you have a pressure sensor on an original PC&C ATC, then the end of the cord is going to look a little bit different from this. It won't end in a 2-wire connection, it'll just end in a 3.5mm audio jack. But either way, you're going to have your air line coming in and then the electrical connection out the end. So if we want to adjust that trigger point, then we need to take this rubber boot off. I'd recommend removing the ATC from the machine, at least undoing the electrical connection. There's not very much slack in the lines at all. So it's much easier if you can just take the boot off and then reconnect the pressure sensor to the machine, and that'll give you much more room to make the adjustment. Once we have our boot off of our pressure sensor and out of the way of our adjustment screw, you can see that our adjustment screw is right in the middle here between two terminals. So that's just a little set screw that we can use a 3mm Allen key in most cases to adjust. If you have an older PC&C ATC, instead of the 3mm Allen key, you're going to use a small straight blade screwdriver. But regardless of which tool you're using, if you adjust the screw farther in or go clockwise, then you're increasing the air pressure that the trigger point is at. If you go counterclockwise, then you're decreasing the air pressure the trigger point is at. So in order to know where we need to adjust our screw to, what we're going to have to do is set the FRL on the machine to between 85 and 90 psi, and that gives us a target point to adjust the screw to. Then on the status page of PathPilot, we watch the air pressure LED, which is always shown as long as you have the ATC enabled. And then as we're making our adjustment, going either in or out, we'll watch that air pressure LED. And when we see that LED transition from yellow to green or green to yellow, then we know that our air pressure screw is set between 85 and 90 psi. We're right at that target point. So once we see that transition, we'll stop adjusting, and then we can put the machine back together, put our boot back on our pressure sensor, and then we can get our machine back up and running. Once you have everything back together, the last thing you're going to do is make sure that you reset the FRL pressure on the machine to between 90 and 110 psi. But after that, your adjustment is complete and you can get your machine back up and running again. One note I'll make about PC&C machines with an original PC&C ATC: if you don't have a pressure sensor installed, since it was an optional accessory, then you can get a false report of an insufficient air pressure alarm, and that can be generated in some cases by either dried coolant or a chip being in the female audio jack on the ATC itself. We have seen a couple reports of that. So clean out that audio jack and make sure that there is no debris in there at all. If you do that and you're still getting the alarm, then it's most likely an electronics issue, which we can help you with at the Tormach Tech Support department if you open up a tech support ticket or give us a call.